Welcome back to Canton Contact. My next guest is here to give us an update on the Michigan Shakespeare Festival's exclusive engagement at the Village Theater at Cherry Hill. Here with all the exciting details is Michigan Shakespeare Festival producing artistic director Janice Blixt. Janice, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. We've been dark for 2 years. I haven't seen you in 2 years.
I know.
It's really nice to be here.
It's great to have you back.
Thank you.
Now, before we get to the exciting lineup of this season, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the history of the Michigan Shakespeare Festival?
Well, the festival started in 1995 as basically a class. It was a bunch of college students had taken a class in Shakespeare and they just loved it. And they ended up putting up A Midsummer Night's Dream in the park that year. And it was lovely. There are pictures on our website if you want to see back in the early days. And at that time, the people in Jackson, Michigan decided, hey, this is fun, let's do this every year. And they built a Globe Theater out there, and it was really quite lovely. In 2003, they ran into trouble because most of the season got rained out. And that's gonna basically kill your budget and kill everything else. So that's when it moved inside in 2004. That was also the year we became the official Shakespeare Festival of the state of Michigan. In our office, we have a big plaque signed by everyone in the legislature. It's very nice. We've been growing ever since. I took over the reins from John Neville Andrews in 2010. And in that year, we also started a high school tour that has also been dark for 2 years, but it's coming back this year. So if you're a high school English teacher and want to bring Mac or Romeo and Juliet into your school, we can do that. So we started building it and we started building more shows, and now we are going into our 27th season. We are organized with Equity, which is the actors union, under what is called a LORT, a League of Regional Theaters contract. So everyone's professional, everyone's paid, it's a living wage situation. And this year, for the first time ever, we are all 5 weeks in Canton. And it's kind of a delight.
How exciting is that?
Yeah.
Canton is so lucky to have you.
We are lucky to have Canton. The people at the Village Theater have been wonderfully connected to us. They've been incredibly helpful. And being that, you know, after 2 years, our infrastructure was a little rocky and we weren't able to use our old theater in Jackson. They had structural problems and they're fixing that, hopefully. But it put us in Canton all year. And everybody at the Village has been supportive and wonderful, and we're lucky to have Canton.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, how long does the festival run?
We will open for previews on the 19th. So next week, today, we start for previews. And it runs until August 21st. We have 3 shows that run in rep. And when all shows are open as of next week, if you come for a weekend, because we get a lot of people coming in from other places, you can see all 3 shows in any weekend. We make sure that they run in reps so you can see them all.
Oh, very thoughtful.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about opening night.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the performance that people can expect to see?
Henry V. We always have one big flagship show that everyone knows is Shakespeare. I mean, it's been King Lear and Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet, you know, the big nuns. And this year, it's Henry V. And it's a huge, we're doing it, a big epic production. It is starring Sam Hubbard, who is an Ann Arbor native. And he has gone on to film and TV and other things, and we've pulled him back for the summer to do this.
Very talented individual.
He's very talented. And if you've seen posters all over, you realize he's also very cute. But he is helming the show, and he is quite terrific. But it's a big, we've been referring to it as medieval, but kind of like HBO does it, so everyone is still attractive. It's kind of the running joke that we've got, because we didn't want little bowl haircuts and we didn't want all the little things that to a modern eye look silly, but we're still doing 14, 15, Agincourt, the entire battle. So that is our flagship show. That's the big one, and that will be opening night. Will be the 22nd of July, so next week. And we're really excited because we're in Canton this year. We're able to throw an outdoor party afterwards because we're surrounded by that wonderful little park and the opening of our theater space. We can do it outside, so we don't have to wear masks.
Oh, wonderful.
Exactly. We're going to have, you know, a beer and wine party out in the greens, and it's just going to be lovely. And we're really excited because we haven't been able to do that before.
I bet.
Yeah. So that's opening night. And then the next night, our second show opens, and that is The Merry Wives of Windsor. Our second show is always a Shakespeare show that is produced a little bit less often. Some people might not know it as well. And we chose to do it. We were making jokes about how it is literally the original spin-off. This was one of the only plays that Shakespeare was told to write. Queen Elizabeth had seen Henry IV, which is the precursor to Henry V, and the character of Falstaff is in it, and it has all these wacky hijinks. And Shakespeare was literally told, I want to see a play about Falstaff falling in love.
Fascinating.
And so it is, I mean, we've been making jokes about how it's a spin-off, you know, because you got Cheers, but then you end up with Frasier. You know, we had Henry IV, now we've got the Falstaff show, which is Merry Wives of Windsor. And so we're doing it in kind of a fun, silly 80s sitcom look. And it's working, it's hilarious and delightful. And we brought Joe Faust in for this. He is a very well-known actor in regional theater all around the country, and he's coming in and playing Falstaff.
How exciting.
Yes, we're very excited. So it's a silly, funny, goofy show, and it's about Falstaff, and Shakespeare played with it. It was about Falstaff falling in love. That doesn't mean the other people fall in love with him.
Ah.
Yeah, so there's a little twist in there that's a lot of fun. So that's our second show, and then the next week our third show opens.
And what is that one?
That is Brandon Thomas's Charlie's Aunt. Okay, so our third show is always a classical show that isn't Shakespeare. So in the past, we've done Oscar Wilde, and we've done Goldsmith, and we've done, you know, the big classics. We wanted something fun.
Ah.
So it is a silly, romantic comedy set in 1892, and we're setting it at that time. And our young lovers want to get together with the ladies of their dreams, but because they don't have a chaperone, it becomes a problem, and the girls aren't going to come to lunch. And so wackiness ensues. Absolute craziness. I will tell you, this is the show that got Tom Hanks bosom buddies. This was one of these things that made him a star. It is a pretty well-known show. And also, historically, I find this amazing. Comedies at this time period, in the 1890s, were a little more sentimental. You didn't laugh as much. As long as everybody was okay at the end, it was a comedy and everyone went home happy. Well, Brandon Thomas writes this show, and it's hilarious, and audiences love it. And it has the longest run of any show at that time, 1,700 performances in London.
That's impressive.
Right, I mean, it was Cats. It was like the biggest thing of its time. And you would think it would start like a trend, and no, everyone went right back to sentimental, to the not really funny stuff. So it's this weird anomaly in theater history of this goofy, funny, summer, happy show. And that's what we're putting up this year. And that's another one that's just lovely. We have a lot of returning company members that audiences will recognize if they've seen our shows in the past. And all of our actors are in all three shows. So we have a tight company of 16. And so if you see multiple productions, you're gonna see people doing very different things on different nights. So for instance, Henry V, Sam, who's playing Henry V, is Dr. Caius, the sort of smarmy suitor in Merry Wives. And it's it's a small role, it's comic, he has to trip over a lot of things. I mean, it's a very different kind of role. So that's something that I think we bring and people tend to like.
And what a great opportunity to see, you know, someone fine-tune their craft and play these varying roles.
Right, across the spectrum, right.
Oh. Now, I understand that you are directing Henry V.
I am directing Henry V and Charlie's Aunt. I usually end up with two shows. The other show, Merry Wives, is being directed by Robert Kozlerick, who directs for us often. I consider him my partner in crime when it comes to these things. The last show, he has directed The Tempest for us, and As You Like It, and Cymbeline, and a whole bunch of favorite shows. So yeah, we've got our old hats at the helm.
Oh, fabulous. Now, have you adapted any of these?
Well, had to do some adaptation with Charlie's Aunt just to try and, it's very British vernacular, 1892, so some of the jokes just wouldn't land because it just didn't make sense. So I had to do a lot of adapting on that. And then Henry V, anytime you're doing a Shakespeare, you gotta do some stuff with it, because this show, uncut with nothing, would probably be 3.5 to 4 hours.
Ah.
And our production is a little over 2.5 with intermission, so it's not, you know, a killer long thing, but had to do some adaptations. A lot of it was cutting out historical references that an Elizabethan audience would have gotten, but we wouldn't. And they don't help the play. So there's a lot of that kind of work that goes into doing a Shakespeare, a lot of editing. And then there are people who are like, you should never edit Shakespeare. It's like, really? You want to sit through 5 hours of Hamlet? Okay.
I think not. Most people would be a little too much.
So
even the diehard fans.
I don't think that there are any productions that go up in the United States now, except maybe for some of the short comedies. But the bigger, the more epic, the giant shows, it's not what we do in terms of theater, what modern audiences do. So we try and figure out what made the play great, why people love it, why 400 years later it's still being done, and then also take into account a modern audience, a modern sensibility. That's one of the things we're doing right now with Henry V, is that most Shakespeare plays kind of this happens, then this happens, and this happens. You get a big build, and then it. Henry doesn't really have that. It's more like each of the 5 acts has its own importance, its own thrust. So when I was looking at it during COVID, during pandemic, we were all binging shows, and I just remember looking at the script, and you have this chorus that comes out at the beginning of every act, and I thought, God, that's what this feels like. This doesn't feel like one movie. It feels like a 5-part BBC series. And what I would absolutely love is for the audience to have that feeling after each act of, yeah, I could watch another. Yeah, I could watch another, because that's what we all did.
Absolutely.
And that's really what it kind of feels like right now for us.
Oh, but live and in person.
But live and in person, and really a lot of fun.
Oh, now all of these shows sound fantastic. So where can folks get tickets?
Well, the first place you can go to if you want more information, you want some pictures, you want things like that, is you can go to MichiganShakespeareFestival.com. That will have links to everything. But if you want to just ignore all of that, you can go to villagetheater.org. Canton Village Theater. Sorry, CantonVillageTheater.org, and their box office is doing sales. They're also available by phone. If you look on the website, they'll have that. Because it's summer hours in the box office, feel free to call, leave a message. They will get back to you. They are the best. Jennifer is the best. And that'll work. But if you just want to, check out what's going on, check out the company, check out bios, who's doing what. For instance, our costume designers this year are just amazing. They're all historic costume, amazing people. So, you can see their bios and what they've done and the books they've written and all of that. And you can go to MichiganShakespeareFestival.com, and we try and give you all that information.
Oh, well, Janice, we are almost out of time, but if you wouldn't mind telling folks why they should come and check out one of your productions this summer.
Honestly, I feel like a huge part of my job is battling the people who say, I had to read Romeo and Juliet in 9th grade, and it was a miserable experience, and I hate Shakespeare. And I have to say, you're right, I get it. Shakespeare was not meant to be read. And that is not a slam on English teachers, who I love, or a slam on college classes, which are great, but it was meant to be played. It was meant to be interpreted through an actor so that everything has subtext and everything is interesting and you see relationships and you understand how these people connect. It is meant to be seen on stage. And so if you're thinking, wow, the language is too hard, I don't understand this, please come and check it out, because I guarantee you will not walk out feeling that way. Henry V is about honor and leadership and loyalty and going to war and having a connection to your people and your kingdom. All of the big, the giant emotions and themes and connections. It's not about ridiculously hard language or a level of poetry that is offsetting. It's about people.
What a wonderful way to experience it live right here in Canton. So if folks want more information, where can they find out more about the Michigan Shakespeare Festival?
Well, MichiganShakespeareFestival.com is, of course, your first place to go. And you'll know you went to the right place because, again, there'll be a big picture of Sam in the front. And then after that, if you check out CantonVillageTheater.org, that is also going to give you a lot of information because they are our hosts, our partner, and our very good friends for helping us make this all happen.
Well, Janice, we are out of time, but thank you so much for stopping by and telling us about this wonderful opportunity to see classical theater right here at the Village Theater at Cherry Hill.
Thank you so much for having me. We've been dark for 2 years, and we're so excited to be back. Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on Canton Contact.